sure. Phones on silent. Everybody, we good? All right.
Hold on.
Yeah,
Usually it's just easier for you to edit it.
yeah.
All right. And
All right. We appreciate everybody for tuning in and rocking with us. This is K Nellz, and you're now tuned in to Icons and Ideas. I definitely have a awesome set of guests that I'll be interviewing over time, just introducing you to different people from different walks of life. We want to cover everything from art and entertainment to business and entrepreneurship to lifestyle, spirituality. We'll cover a host of topics. And the format will be just like this. So get used to seeing me. This is definitely the first episode of many. And we have a special guest today. I wanted to start things off on purpose. I wanted to start things off with my mother to kick the episode off. She's not only responsible for who I am, obviously, right? But I always tell her that I am a firm believer that she has an extremely powerful message, and I'm always a promoter of her just being able to tell her story and be able to be, the curator and the author of her own narrative and empower other people through the things that she have to say and the perspectives that she have. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have a wonderful episode, a wonderful conversation. It's going to be real laid back. And hopefully at the conclusion of it all, you'll have a wonderful understanding and you'll be able to appreciate my mother as much as I do. So we're kicking it off. So without any further ado, let me allow you to, kind of formally introduce yourself and just talk to the people a little bit.
Okay. Well, my name is Joyce, and I use my middle initial, R Rogers.
Hey, and she don't play it but that middle initial. So I'm glad she said that. Joyce R Rogers. Make sure that R is in there, because she going to let you know if it ain't. For sure.
Yes, and as Colonel said, I'm his mom. I'm happy to be here. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to share a platform with him and hopes of being able to share some things with the community at large, particularly the younger community, because you all
Correct.
are a very, very deep concern for me.
Gotcha.
Because I recognize that there is much that you may not realize
Yeah.
that you're missing that will be very helpful for where you're going.
Yeah.
Because this is your time. This is your time as young people.
True indeed. True indeed. So before we get into the specifics of your book that'll be coming out soon and all of those details, just talk a little bit about where you're from, your humble beginnings, and and I know it's a long story. I know for sure. But if you can kind of, as they say, elevator pitch it, just kind of talk about who
Yeah.
you are, where you from, and how you arrived to where you are now.
Okay, that's very interesting because I do in more detail in the book. So that's good. I tell it. My life is an open story. So I want to be able to use my life so that people can take a look at it and get some pieces of wisdom and
Yeah.
get some pieces of things, I won't do.
Yeah.
So I'm born and raised in Annapolis, Maryland.
For
Proud
Proud
Annapolitan.
for sure. Shout out to the hometown.
Yes.
What up, everybody?
Yes. And I moved here to Georgia on assignment. You'll read that in the book about how God actually instructed me to come to Georgia. So it's been a process of uprooting from Maryland
Right.
and coming to Georgia just on an instruction that you belong in Georgia.
Right. For sure.
So again, I talk about that in detail
Yeah.
in the book. But my life, I'm a mom. Colonel is one of 9.
Y'all heard that right.
Yeah.
That means I got 8 brothers and sisters.
So I've been blessed. That's a blessing
Yeah.
to be able to birth 9 individual singles, no twins, no triplets.
Right.
Children.
Yeah.
And all of them I'm extremely proud of.
Yeah.
9 totally different personalities.
100%.
Yeah. So to me, that represented life.
Yeah.
That gave me an opportunity to see the world through my children's personalities.
Gotcha. To kind of get into things and open up a little more, I definitely want to touch a little bit on your childhood, just because a lot of who we are is fashioned by the conditions that we were raised in and how we actualized ourselves, right? And that looks different for everybody, right? So I just wanted to kind of ask you, as you come full circle and you look back, this book is a reflection in a sense. How is that little girl, in response to the book now in juxtaposition, looking at where you are, what experiences kind of fashioned that little girl into how you would lead your life ultimately?
Oh, that's a very, very interesting question, because I am a 4th generation poverty person. Came through welfare, public housing. That was what that child experienced. So as a young child, it was poverty and lack. However, when I was that child, I didn't know that because we always had.
Yeah.
So we thought we was wealthy.
Right.
Till you grow up and you realize, you look back and you realize, oh, that's what I had.
Yeah.
But in those conditions, that's your world.
Yeah.
So where the outside community may look at that particular community and say, ooh, it lacks everything. When you're inside that community, you feel like you have everything.
Right.
So as a little girl who did not have my daddy, I never had a daddy.
Yeah.
I just learned, and I spell that out in the book, that process of not having a daddy created a spirit of abandonment that even still going through the process, I didn't know I was abandoned.
Right.
Because in it, we were a community.
Exactly.
So I didn't know that I didn't have something that I should have had.
Right.
And that's a good thing.
Yeah.
In the
Right.
So to me, my childhood was great.
Right. It is so funny how life is full circle, because I expressed that exact sentiment so many times. It's like I really didn't know that where we grew up was a problem. Like it was just, like I really didn't know. It was like it wasn't until I started playing like AAU sports or playing. I was more involved in sports, and then I would go to sleepovers. And at my friend's house and my teammates' house, and it's like, oh, this is a whole different world. Like, luxuries that I would never imagine is like normal to them. It's like reflex, like, oh, y'all don't got this, So, but it was like in our world, I guess that's kind of, for lack of a better expression, like the coping mechanism. Yeah, it's like that's how we cope with it. It's like this is all we know. Right. Therefore, we gonna make it our palace. Yeah. We gonna make it our home. We gonna make it what it was. So it's funny because you had that experience, and then I think I attribute it to you and my pops, because I was like I never felt like we was poor. Right. You know what I mean? like I never it never occurred to me that we were poor, but that was the reality of where we were. Yes. And it, just the full circle or the cycle of it all. You having that same experience and saying, yo, though we didn't have, it was our world, and we embraced it. Yeah. And I think it's a lot of power in that. Yes. You definitely mentioned the message and the poignancy of being able to address and speak specifically to this generation. So one question I want to ask you, which I think will be helpful for a lot of people that's listening, as you went and continue to go on your walk, when did you actualize a sense of purpose? Was it in your young adulthood, teen, early 20s? Was it when you were a little more mature? What was that like for you? Just kind of finding your purpose and feeling like you're walking in that sense of purpose.
Well, I think the way that I was raised afforded me the shelter, meaning I was different, as I heard you all having a conversation earlier about realizing that your friends and peers were doing one thing,
right,
and you felt like you were over here confined.
right.
That was the same for me. I look at my life and I see myself as being, as living a secluded life, in that I was not the one to go out and party or want to drink or want to smoke or even want to follow.
Yeah.
I was just not a follower. And it's not until and that was from youth on. And it's not until I got older that I realized that that was necessary for my development because of the purpose for which I now have in the earth. So that process was really, truly necessary.
Gotcha.
But one of the things that I'm recognizing now as a grown woman is that as a child, being brilliant as a child, I was able to intellectualize my emotions. Like, for instance, the fact that I didn't have a daddy. I was I honestly really convinced myself as a little girl, like 6 years old, that, well, I'm not going to be all emotional about that. He had a right to choose whether or not he wanted to be in my life.
Right.
And he chose he didn't want to be.
Right.
So that's what I took to make myself cope with it.
Exactly.
I accepted that he had a God-given right
and that's a very,
to choose.
Very discerning perspective for a 6-year-old to have, or for a child.
For a child.
You take the specific age for a child to be able to, internalize it like that.
Yes, but the interesting thing is that I just discovered, I didn't realize I did that.
Yeah.
I just discovered that in therapy at this age with my life coach. It was my life coach who made me realize, she was like, Joyce, you intellectualize as a child your dad not being there.
Right.
And that opened me up. That was like a light bulb.
And then on top of that, it ultimately played into how you raised us, because I strongly feel like the way you raised us made us so independent.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that wasn't the norm until I myself started to have relationships. And then it's like, oh, this is how your mother raised you? Like, no, my mother didn't raise me like that. My mother raised me to understand that I am 100% accountable for my actions, and that all the decisions that I make and you make, we have to wear the consequences of those, good or bad. It don't have to be a negative stigma, but it's like, no, you're gonna wear that because you made a conscious decision to do X, Y, Z, and now it even sheds light for me on why you conceptualized it that way, because even as a little child, you made up in your mind, well, I can't fret. He made his decision. Now I gotta make mine. And in teaching us, I'm making my decisions. Y'all gotta make yours.
Absolutely.
And so it definitely sheds light in that regard. So does your purpose, keeping that in mind, looking at the juxtaposition of then and now, did your purpose look different now versus then? Like, because you felt like as you begin to actualize yourself as a young woman, you felt like you was developing purpose. And whether it was with your mom, and whether it's with the activism and the political aspirations that you have and all the things that you did in your younger years, does that purpose look different now? The purpose that you walk in now, is it different or is it similar to that?
It's actually similar.
Okay.
And I can see now, again, why those steps were necessary.
Yeah.
Because where I am, just realizing at my age why I came to this planet.
Exactly.
I did not have that understanding when I was
you didn't actualize it because you knew it was there.
Okay.
It was there.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's better.
Yeah.
Yes, it was actually there and coming forth.
Right.
but unbeknownst to me,
Right.
just naturally
Yeah.
coming forth,
Mm-hmm.
to the place where, like, so this is a point for the younger people to consider, because while it was evolving naturally
Yeah.
as a young person, but being in this world without people around you knowing your divine purpose.
Exactly. And helping to cultivate
Exactly. So I was like everyone else.
Right.
Well, I have aspirations and desires. What I
Right.
want to do, I want to teach. I want to be a real estate agent. I
Right.
want to be in real estate. And so as I got older, real estate was my focus. Real estate was going to be my life.
Yeah.
Everything was real estate.
Right.
Breaking my neck wanting real estate.
Yeah.
No matter whether things went up or down, I wanted real estate.
Right.
To get to this place,
Right.
specifically from this last 5 years,
Yeah.
to realize that real estate,
Yeah.
no, that's not why I sent you here.
Right. Right. Which is is interesting because just speaking to that, I always talk to you about the book The Alchemists by
Yes.
Paulo Coelho. And it's about self-actualization.
Yes.
But specifically your personal legend is how they describe it. And the book touched on so many different topics, but what you spoke to just now was the crux of what that book was talking about. How everything in every single experience that we had is not an isolated incident.
Absolutely not.
It is divinely interwoven
Yes.
to your purpose. Most people just don't actualize it though. So you think I'm just going through life doing whatever, you know what I mean, moving how I'm moving, so on and so forth. But it's like, no, every single step that you make,
Every one of them,
is cause and effect
yeah,
for the next step. And when you align yourself with your purpose, you'll understand the flow.
yes,
Some people align themselves and understand the flow. Some don't get the luxury and they go throughout their lives never actualizing themselves.
which is very interesting, and is what I love about the book.
Yeah.
Because in the book, I am amazed. I'm telling you all, when you read this book,
Yeah.
I'm amazed how the Lord allowed me to write this thing out in detail, to show the world or those who read it, who have not done as you just said.
Right.
They'll get a chance to see it in my life and say, well, is that real?
Yeah.
Does every step
Gotcha.
really? It's really a blessing, because I use my life as an example of how these steps unfolding, how one
connects to the other.
100%.
And it's the perfect segue because, understanding that foundation of where you came from, some of those experiences that fashioned your outlook. Let's talk about the book. Let's talk about, how did you arrive to, I'm going to write a book. Now, backstory, I always felt like she should have wrote. I felt like, I remember, I think you and I, maybe it was like 2009, 2010, I just started conceptualizing ideas. I felt like it would be dope for a mother and son to come together and write a book, because that's not something that you hear. And I still have some of the notes. They burnt into my brain. And maybe we'll get to that. The timing is always when it's supposed to.
Absolutely.
But how did you arrive to this point where you say, you know what? Let me move forward. I want to tell my story.
Well, actually, as shared in the book, I had an opportunity. These last 5 years, let me start by saying this. In 2014, I woke up, entered my bathroom like everybody else do every morning. Beautiful day.
Yeah.
And I fell dead on the bathroom floor. I had suffered an aneurysm, a ruptured aneurysm.
Yeah.
So I had to fight back from that. And then the next year, 12 months later, I get sick, rush to the hospital, and I'm immediately diagnosed with leukemia. And I'm in the hospital feeling like I'm never going to leave, because I'm having to stay there for months at a time, treating for this disease. And so those processes, coming through that, fighting for my life, just took me on a whole different plateau.
Right.
So through that process, I had the opportunity, and it's all spelled out in the book. I'm telling you all, it's awesome.
Absolutely.
I had the opportunity to go to Costa Rica. And I knew that was a divine trip that I was supposed to be on.
Mm-hmm.
God made the way
Yeah.
for me to go, and the entire thing was a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
Well, immediately after that trip, I was home. I was on the road going somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
and the host, the lady that hosted the trip, called me, and she said, "Joyce, I don't know if you're writing, but the Lord told me to tell you, you have to write because there's a book you have to write."
Gotcha.
And it was one thing I've learned about the power of the real prophetic word.
Yeah.
It's no work to it. When the prophetic word come forth, you just move into action naturally.
Yeah.
And that's how it was for me. From that point, I just started writing.
Yeah.
And the Lord started giving me all the details. In less than 4 weeks, the whole draft was done.
Gotcha.
So that's what actually made me
Right.
get into that with all the time. We know, as you hinted to, before then, there have been words of talking about writing a book, write books, right?
Yeah.
But it took that process
Right.
and that word coming forth
And to really be, and it's a testament. Like you say, I always tell people, when you align with the flow, you know. Like you say, in 4 weeks, you went from idea to final draft.
Yeah.
And that's how you know you align, because it comes together exactly how it's supposed to. So I don't want to minimize what you said at all. And I'll start by saying I haven't read the book yet. I'll purchase my copy. It'll be available on September 18th. I'll purchase my copy. I'll definitely read the book. I know a lot of it I experienced directly with you, right?
Yeah. Yes,
so
yes.
I kind of got the inside scoop, but that is still going to be a completely different perspective of when I sit down and digest the book, which I will. But in 2014, you experienced the aneurysm. Now, just to touch on my perspective, because with that, like she said, it was a normal day. Wake up, go to the bathroom, collapse in the bathroom, and it was me and my dad actually that had the way she fell in the bathroom. It wedged the door closed, so we had very little leverage to even get in the door. So me and Pops had to break down the door and get in to be able to tend to you. And that whole experience, and we don't know what's going on. We just know it ain't right? And so at that point, you go through that and you come out on the other end of that, right?
Yes.
And you get in your bearings and you're like, you know what? I got the purpose. It's things that I want to do. I got to start living my life for me. And at that point, I'll kind of touch on this. This is my perspective. I don't want it to be confused because her perspective is important. But even from where I was at, it was like, okay, now I'm going through this phase where my youngest brother is walking into adulthood, right? So now the same responsibility she don't have, quote unquote, empty nesters. So it's like, okay, I got to start understanding me and doing for me and growing the way I want to. And I think that transitional period was important because all of this was happening right on that cusp, right?
Right.
And then, okay, now fast forward, you get your legs back underneath you. God grant you that miracle of, being literally lifeless to being able to come back. And now it's 2015. You're in another period of transition, and then you fall ill. And even with that, from my perspective, I tell people all the time, I literally thought it was just like a common cold because that's what the symptoms was. And
I thought it was.
Right. It just didn't, it wasn't anything like, it was like, yeah, she's in pain, she's uncomfortable, but it wasn't anything unrecognizable that'd make you think the severity of what it was.
Right.
And so now, bam, you learn in 2015 that you have leukemia.
Yes.
They want to rush you into chemo.
Yes.
You have to make all of these life-changing and life-saving decisions in the moment.
Yes.
And all of this is in a period of transition. What was the recovery time like? Because the aneurysm recovery time, from my perspective, seems quick. It was almost like it was this thing that happened in a moment.
6 months. Six months and I was up.
Right. But what was, talk about the difference in that from one experience to the next. What was that recovery experience after going through the chemo and the leukemia?
Totally different. And again, I spell it out in the book because the aneurysm was much easier to come back from. And that, like I said, 6 months, I'm up and okay. I'm like, man, I want to go back to work. Can I go to work?
Yeah.
And
now was that, and I'm sorry for interrupting, was that a physical or psychological or both? Was speaking of the differences between, you know, the aneurysm, the physical and psychological toll versus
Both.
Okay.
Both.
Yeah.
Because the psychological toll for the leukemia completely different
Yeah.
from that of the aneurysm. And that's because of the pharmaceuticals that's used.
Gotcha.
Chemotherapy is no joke.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah.
I mean, I had gotten to a place where I said, boy, chemotherapy and radiation,
Yeah.
they reach your soul.
Yeah.
What medication reach your soul? Those two.
Yeah.
In my book, those two.
Right.
Reach your soul. So for the leukemia, it was also much longer.
Yeah.
Because from 15 to what? 2000.
At least 2017. At least.
No.
Even going into 2018.
19.
Yeah.
2019, I've only been off. It's easier to say it this way. I've only been off drugs a year.
Yeah.
It's just easier to say that.
Right.
From 2015, what, 15?
Yeah.
So it was a lot of drugs,
process.
and it was every day.
Right. And to that I will say, even as a son, there's nothing that can prepare you to hear your mom crying in the middle of the night. And you know, like, it's nothing that you could do.
Yeah.
Like, it was nothing that I could do. You can't even ignore it. You know what I mean? And it's just like, and it was just, the pain was constant. It was, and I almost know, like, it was nothing that you could do in that moment, but just endure it.
Exactly.
So when you say it was completely different, like I said, being that I was going through, I was present for the experience, I can attest to that 100%. 100%, because it's nothing, you know, and I talked about this a little bit with my best friends. It's like, it's very difficult to look at and cope with the dynamic of being responsible for a son and then turn around and needing your son to be responsible for you going through this time, going through this period.
At such an early age.
And I could only imagine what that was for you. That's one reason why I asked about both the physical toll and the psychological toll. Because from my perspective, it seemed like the psychological toll was much longer because physically you started to be yourself again. But it was like psychologically, it's like, no, I'm not myself again. You know what I mean? Right. So from the outside, just seeing that, it's like, man, you know, I don't know what it's like, what it feels like to be able to walk through that and deal with that. So, and that's just in 4 years. So we'll say from 2014 to now, we'll say 6 years total.
6 years.
But in that time frame, you had all of these experiences health-wise. Now let's talk about how that became the catalyst for your spiritual journey, which ultimately led to you writing the book. Yeah,
it was awesome because from the very onset, when I was diagnosed with the leukemia, as I laid in the bed, hospital bed, after the doctors told me what the condition was and that they were going to ship me to a specialty hospital, I'm shocked. I wasn't expecting that. But then our awesome God, which is what the book is all about, the living God, he spoke to me. And he told me, this is not unto death, but to bring you to a place of wholeness and well-being.
That's important.
That was refreshing. It's like at that point, my mind was at a place that I hung to those words. I was confident that I'm coming through this. I didn't know what I was going to have to go through, but he gave me the key. He told me I was coming through. I didn't know how long it was going to be, but I had the key. He told me I was coming through.
Gotcha.
So in that process, a lot of my spiritual walk was deepened because the Lord was able to do some things with me in that condition. And I guess it's because that is called putting that flesh down.
Yeah.
I mean, the flesh was down.
Right.
The flesh literally had no control.
Yeah, like, and it's like literal.
Yeah,
Even if you
yeah.
wanted to rely on your flesh.
Yeah.
In that moment, you couldn't.
Yeah. So you talk about you flat down on your back.
Yeah.
Flesh is out of the way.
Uh-huh.
Oh, God's got his opportunity. So he showed up.
Yeah.
And he showed out. Spoke to me about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Allowed me to have out-of-body experiences where I was taken to different places.
Yeah.
And educated about some things.
Right.
And I share, again, in the book. So to ask about how did that heighten or work
Yeah.
in relation to my spiritualness.
In your spiritual journey,
Yeah. It deepened it.
Gotcha.
It made it so much very more personal, which is really what the book is about and why the book is entitled,
Right.
Won't He Do It? Yes, He will.
Right.
Because it highlights the fact that we serve a living God. And what I learned through that process is how the things that we thought we knew, the things I thought I knew before that process.
Right.
I was an elder in the church. I thought I knew.
Right.
And, I knew my God before that. But going through that process, he revealed to me what I did not know.
Gotcha.
Which was much deeper.
Right. Right. And so it seems like to me this was a complete breakdown.
Yes, that's a good way to put it.
Everything
it was
that you thought you knew.
Yes.
And which is super important. I always talk about one of my favorite lines in the movie Avatar, when they were trying to convince the elders to embrace Jake Sully as a real native, as a part of the Na'vi, and they was like, you can't. And one thing that they said was, you can't fill a cup that's already full. That's the problem with humans, you know. And this is they speak the Avatar, the Na'vi is speaking about they speaking about the human complex, and it's like you can't help them.
That is
correct.
They
feel like they got it all together. They feel like they know
correct.
everything. You can't fill a cup that's already full. So seeing you go through that, your cup, the metaphorical cup was full. And
he emptied it.
Yeah, because your purpose was far greater than that.
Oh yeah.
And so for you, everything that you had was sufficient to get you to that point, but not sufficient for where you needed to go.
Absolutely, that's
and
the
so
perfect
it's like,
way to
in
put
order
it.
for me to be able to invest in you,
yes.
in order me to be able to prepare you for the next phase of this thing, you got to die to yourself.
Have to die.
And that's one thing, like even me in my personal walk, I die to myself daily.
Yes.
One of the most profound things that my father taught me through action. It's not through any words that he said, but never bring yesterday into tomorrow.
Yes.
And I literally watch him embody that.
Right.
And it's like, for me, I just tell myself, die to yourself every day.
Every day.
And approach with new life, new perspective, new mentality. And so having gone through all of that was you're breaking down.
It was.
Layer by layer. And it's not coincidence that you said it touched the soul. Speaking of the medicine, right? But that's just the metaphor.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like that's truly just the metaphor
Absolutely.
for your experience, because it had to be that extreme in order to, because like you raised me, so we deal with extremes. I know we deal with extremes. It's like it's no gray area.
None.
It's no lukewarm. It's like you hot or you cold.
That's
period.
it.
I ain't trying to hear none of that other stuff. This is what we doing or not.
That's right.
And so when you have such a strong personality like that, it takes something as drastic and severe as what you were going through to break you down, to get you to where you need to do is, okay, now let me edify you to serve how you need to in a capacity and what you need to going forward. And now on the other end of that, right? Won't he do it? Yes, he will.
Yes.
Comes a testament, right? And that's like the first step.
Yes.
Let me tell y'all about these experiences I just went. Because if I don't tell you, you're not going to believe it.
Not going to believe it. You would not imagine.
Right.
Or you'll say it's a movie.
Right.
Or you'll say, like I say in the book, a lot of people say, oh, that stuff is unorthodox. That's not real. That's not happening.
Right. And it takes that level of openness, though.
Yes.
And, I know, and I know I probably sound like a broken record, but that's in a lot of ways that's how you raised us to be open in that regard. You know, to be seekers of information and self-fulfillment and all of those ideas, right? And now you arrive to that point where I feel like, and this is back to my personal perspective, I feel like after coming through the fire and surviving, which is only a testament to the extent to what your purpose is.
Yes.
Now you're at a point where you're ready.
Yes.
Like you're truly ready.
Really ready.
Whatever it is for me, I'm ready for it. I'm at a position where I can embrace it and I can walk in it.
Yes.
And as much as you thought real estate was for you, as much as you thought all of these different endeavors was for you, you come full circle to realize the power of who you are is on the other end of those experiences, and the purpose, the divine purpose that you walk in and arrive to now with the book. And from, you know, as a son, I'm definitely proud of you because this was rock bottom for you.
Yes.
Without going into great detail. Like this was literally the bottom for you.
Yes.
And you say, you know what? The bottom was just the beginning, right? And you were able to build upon that.
Yes.
And now this is just the first step though. And that's what I know. Like, you ready? For what's about to transpire? Like you have to be mentally you have to be ready. Yeah. The toughest things, I think the toughest discourse, the toughest things that you've been through in your life was probably the last 6 years.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And having a whole life before that. Right. Of tons of experiences and disappointments and happiness and ups and downs and all of those things. The last 6 years was that breaking down, was that process.
Yes.
And now you stand tall and valiant on the other side, and you have a book that I know you're proud of. I'm proud of it, just seeing it through to fruition and seeing that it's your vision, not mine, not my father's, not anybody else's. Right. This is your vision. And one thing I want to touch on as we wind down, I want to touch on specifically the relationships and friendships that you've been able to have in this 6 year process. Because, you know, your kid, like, we would always joke, like, mommy don't got no friends. She just work, go to church, come home. We like what you do for fun? Like, what, you know? Yeah. But I've seen a transformation in that, too. I've seen you kind of blossom into, like, I'm not going to say a social butterfly yet. You in your cocoon, you in your social cocoon. The butterfly going to come out eventually. Yes. But, no, it's just good to see you and refreshing to see you make all of these friendships. So from you know, the Costa Rica to Dress for Success to all of these different endeavors and these paths that cross and these people that you met along the way. Yes. How has that been for you? Just, you know, the experience of meeting new people, learning new things, and having new experiences.
Awesome. Because, as you said, over this last 6 years, I tell it like this. I lost everything. Yeah. Down to the clothes on my back. Mm-hmm. Everything. And so I had to start my entire life over. Yeah. And thanks be to God, he put everything in place that was needed. So these new people that he's brought into my life has been amazing. As I said, my life coach, she's the one that brought out the reality that at one, you suffered from abandonment as a child. What? Mm-hmm. You know, to Dress for Success.
Which is always, you know, it's like, I got it all together. What you talking about?
Exactly.
I had figured that part of my life out.
Exactly.
Like, I was cool.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, you
then you're going to uncover that.
Again. Right?
You're going to bring that up. What you talking about?
Yeah, and then you say from there, Dress for Success. Sorry for interrupting.
That's okay. I'm sorry. That was a perfect point because that was that process. I'm then Dress for Success, and oh my God, you all wait till you read. Yeah. The details of how I met these people and what God did for me. I'm telling you, that book is so refreshing. But to meet, you know, new people through there, just the different gatherings before this pandemic we're in, afforded me the opportunity to really meet new people. So today, I look at my life and everything is new.
Right. Right.
Everything about it. Everything.
So it's been like the good and bad of these last 6 years have been completely night and day from what you've known, just the amount of experiences.
Yes.
Before, let me ask you, because now my memory is even foggy, but before the trip to Costa Rica, have you left the country?
No, that was my first trip out of the country.
Right. That's what I thought. I was like, maybe it's a trip in there that I don't remember.
Yeah.
But so even that, everything
Yeah.
about this has been new for you. Quick question again, because I haven't read the book. Did you get a chance to touch on the butterfly revelation in the book? Because I know it's funny because you mentioned, I mentioned jokingly the cocoon, right?
Yes.
But I know in your endeavors in building upon a lot of the relationships you have and going into mentorship and life coaching and all of that, I know that was a huge pivoting point for you, just realizing and understanding the power of being that, caterpillar in that environment, and then creating the environment of the cocoon conducive to your success, and then growing from there. So I wasn't sure. Did you get a chance to touch on that, or that's going to be book number 2?
The details of that will be in book number 2. However, in the end, the last chapter, I do share how God allowed me to create and execute the women's program, which was centered around the caterpillar, the chrysalis, and becoming that butterfly. And again, everything about the book, I share the details, because one thing that I learned in life, that we have been taught in this country, to, when we tell the story, or what we say, marketing purposes, don't give them everything. And people always tell me that, Joyce, you tell everything. Because people need to be able to see. I don't want them to have to figure it out.
Right.
Let them see that these were the steps.
Exactly.
I don't need to use a book to say, well, I'm going to draw you to my next book.
Right.
No, that's foolishness.
Right.
This, and only now, is the opportunity that you have to teach.
Yeah.
So if I have an opportunity to teach you, to share, I'm giving it to you. And I'm grateful for it. So in the end, that last chapter takes them through all of that, how that came about, what it represents, and where I'm going from here with that.
Gotcha. So speaking of which, I definitely want to touch on what's next for you. Not to put the cart before the horse, because bask in all of this, right?
Yes.
Because again, this is you seeing your creation from start to finish. So it's that in and of itself is a level of gratification that you can't explain, with words anyway. But tell me, what's next for you? Anything lined up immediately that you want to touch on, or is it just your main focus is just maximizing this moment?
Maximizing this moment. And it's interesting that you asked that question, because everything is a process.
Yeah.
And to my surprise, I get to this place where the book is finished. The book is being released tomorrow.
Right.
And I go through all these emotional stuff started happening.
Right.
I'm flipping backwards in emotions, and I'm not understanding it. I'm like, what is all of this?
Yeah.
Crying and I don't know, just feeling the old, when I have come way past all of that. But I guess the process of opening everything in that book.
This that nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
Because everything up until this point, like I said, you've been shedding to build back up.
Yes.
And this is truly a closing of a chapter and the opening of a new one for you.
Yes.
And so all of the apprehensions, for lack of a better word, of what's to come.
What's to come, that's
what
it.
I mean? All of those things is playing on you a little bit. That's good. You know what that lets you know? You're human. And you're on the right track at the same time. Sometimes those moment of reflections before you go to that next level, it's all of those fears.
It's real.
And your power comes in at that moment. How do you respond to it? Do you succumb to the fear and let it impact how you move? Or do you conquer that fear and say, I understand why you exist, but I don't give you power to dictate
Absolutely.
and move on, you know? And so I think that's important in this moment because you're moving to the next level.
Yes.
And you're transcending all of those circumstances, and you understand for yourself, all of this life that I live has led me to this point in my divine purpose.
Yes.
I only could imagine what's in store for me. And
Exactly.
What's coming next.
Exactly.
So you have to be ready for that. And I think that's what that's more geared towards, you know? Those fears, those apprehensions, all of that is necessary. Even when you look throughout the Bible, everybody that was called questioned it.
Yeah.
Like, is this really for me? This is what I'm supposed to be doing? So we're no different in that respect. Like, you just had that moment of, okay, this is it. Am I ready, or have I done everything that I need to do? Is every I dotted, every T crossed?
Yes.
So
and feeling it.
Yeah.
I'm actually feeling it. Plus, as you'll see throughout the book, as you read the book, prophetic word is all through it.
Yeah.
You know, and then the demonstration shows up behind everything. And so even to the point of just recently on our prayer line, a lady was on the prayer line.
Yeah.
And she just out of the blue say, I don't know who this Joyce Rogers is, but God wants me to tell her. He's getting ready to blow her mind. And I was at work, I'm listening. You know?
Right.
And I'm like, oh my God, that's me. That's me. I receive it. And I know that that's so. I know that this is representative of the next level.
Yeah.
And the next level is very deep, which is why I look forward to any opportunity to talk to young people.
Yeah. Because
in our world today, it seems like everything is falling apart.
Right.
It seems like, you know, do we have hope? What do we do?
Yeah.
We're going to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
But the reality is, that's what's so important about this book.
Exactly.
There is a God. I can testify that there is a God who is not going to let you go. He's not. And that while judgment is upon America, and people are afraid to speak that, it is upon America. And we could pray forever. Yeah. God is not taking it back.
Right.
Because they have created this. And we have now entered into a time of God where it's about his kingdom on earth. And it's, for me, it's so sad because the believers, we should be celebrating. It's about God's kingdom now. Yeah. Why is our head down? So again, that's this book. It's going to lift the head of every person that ever doubted. Or that every person that thought they really, really had that relationship with God. But when they see how he took me step by step through my life, they're going to know. Because I spell out, I constantly remind people that what he did for me, he's a just God. He'll do it for anyone. Anyone. So if you need something, just know that this living God, that this book is all about, he's available, he's ready, he's willing to do it for you. Get in your private closet.
Gotcha. And that's the power of your story, and that's what I wanted you to be able to express. That's what I wanted you to be able to talk about and reveal. I think one thing I just want to note, like I said, I'll have my time to dig into the book and, you know, actually read it and receive it. But just being present with you through that experience. One thing I would say to everybody that's listening, I definitely want to encourage you to get it. The book is Won't He Do It? Yes, He Will. It's by Joyce R Rogers, who's my mom. It's going to be available for purchase September 18th, which is Friday. You will be able to purchase it on Amazon. You will be able to purchase a digital. You'll be able to purchase a physical copy if you want a physical copy. Her website is, it'll be available there, all the information will be provided to you. So you'll have that and it'll be accurate. You'll be able to go and support it. But more importantly, under the context of everything that you've heard throughout this conversation, understand what I want to highlight is you can take her face off of it, you can take her name off of it, and all of the things that she spoke on, and just simply deal with the experience. Yes. In its rawest form. Yes. And it's a story of perseverance. It's a story of faith and faithfulness and spirituality and self-belief.
Yeah.
It's an underdog story.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's the improbable becoming probable. You know,
Yes.
it's all of these things. It's this actualization. So I encourage everybody to read it, because anybody that has gone through anything that trivial, it don't have to be health. In this case, the catalyst for this spiritual journey for you was this roller coaster that you were going on in the physical.
Yes.
Became a catalyst for the transformation in the spiritual. But that's going to look different for every person.
Every person.
Everybody that's going through it is going to look different for them.
Be different.
But just know, if you go through something, you endure something, you're being tried for the fire. Through the fire, you're being prepared for what's next for you. And I think when you read it from that perspective, you'll be able to receive the power in knowing that if you stay faithful, like you say, if you believe, if you understand what your purpose is, and understand that you're aligning yourself with that purpose to move forward. I think this book will resonate, and I don't care how old you are.
Yeah.
You could be middle school, high school.
Yes.
I think as long as you're old enough to comprehend and understand the power of purpose, I think you'll be able to digest the book at some level. And it is intended to be read over and over again, right? And take notes, and because I think as you read it more will be revealed.
Yes.
Because as you went through this walk, this was layers for you.
Yes, it was.
It wasn't everything received in one go. It was layers. And
I'd like to share something else.
Yeah.
With the viewers.
Absolutely.
About the book, because it is about the true and living God.
Yeah.
And one of the things that the Lord was revealing to me to share with the young people is his desire for them.
Yeah.
And how he recognized that they're struggling with the idea of whether or not do we believe there's a God, or is there really a God? And they're having these struggles because of the adults that went before them.
Yeah,
and I count myself in that, because I've learned I don't care what title we had, we so misrepresented the living God. And he is so being misrepresented in the earth still.
True indeed.
But just think, even as parents, so the Lord said to me, so many young people are hurting because those religious people, parents, uncles, relatives,
right,
that wore the title, were the worst ones in their eyes. Was very, very hard and did things that they said, how is that God?
Right.
And why would I want anything to do with that God? The Lord really want me to let the young people know that the reason he allowed me to write the book as he did is to appeal to them, to one, give them the evidence that he is real, and to help them understand that if they come to him for themselves, not because of the religion, religion has messed us up,
true indeed,
misled us. But God wants these young people to know that I am here for you. This is your moment in time. But I need you to come to me. And I really believe that book is going to give them that opportunity to say, well, okay, because they're hurting.
Yeah.
I mean, the preacher heard them.
Right.
The elder heard them.
Yeah.
The women, the mothers of the church heard.
Yeah, all of those examples, all of those people that were supposed to be examples.
Yes.
You look to them and you feel like, I always say expectation is the root of disappointment.
Yeah.
You have these expectations of people, and then when they don't live up to those expectations, it's like, so then you begin to question everything and then formulate your own ideas and opinions.
And it has been horrible for young people. So another thing that the Lord really wanted me to do, and this is from my heart, is that I want to repent to the young people as a mother, as a grandmother, as a great-grandmother.
Yeah.
Because I know I had to learn that, where I thought I was doing it right.
Yeah.
And I did not realize I was creating damage.
Yeah.
It's the same with many other adults who thought they were doing it right when they were dealing with the young people. but we weren't. So I want to take this opportunity to ask the young people to forgive us.
Yeah.
Really, find it in your heart to forgive us.
Yeah.
Don't allow that pain, to make you feel so bad. Like,
harbor those emotions.
yes, where you saying you don't want
and all of
nothing.
those
You're blaming
things, yeah.
God
Right.
for what we did to you. And I'm testifying right now.
Yeah.
God is not anything like what we did. We did it in our ignorance.
Yeah.
And so I just want to take this opportunity to say,
Sure.
please forgive us and give this living God, not the religious God. I have to keep emphasizing that.
Yeah.
That's not the true God. Because this is another reason for the cover on the book.
Yeah.
It's a story behind
Hold it
that
up.
cover.
Hold it up.
Where the
I was
Lord,
gonna say, yeah, sure.
the Lord blessed us to get the cover. Because particularly as a race of people, it's the African American people. We were given everything that never looked like us.
Right.
Never looked like us. And so again, that was a part of teaching us how to look to everything else, but not ourselves.
Right.
And so it's time now. We're in the time. Nothing is stopping what God is doing.
Right. It's already in motion.
Oh yeah. And they can
in
set the atomic bomb off.
Yeah.
It's not going to stop the revealing that God is doing now to his people. And young people, you are key to this new evolution that's happening. And the way that you're going to find who you are in it and your God is in your private time. I don't care what mama, father, grandma did. Put it aside. Forgive us all. Forgive us all, young people, because this is your hour, and I don't want you to miss it.
Yeah. There's definitely a powerful message, and I just want to end it on that because I think that encapsulated everything that you wanted to say. It encapsulated the motive, the why, and the intent behind what you do and what motivates you now and pushing you to the next level. So like I say, as your son, stepping back, I definitely appreciate you. I appreciate your journey, and I understand, more importantly, through your walk, that your walk is your walk.
Yes.
And just as you have your walk, it's important for me to be in tune and identify the purpose in my walk, because that's my walk. And you can't do anything for me in regards to that, so and just continue to be an example, continue to persevere, continue to push through no matter what. It's been refreshing to see, regardless of the ups and downs or any of that. None of it, I don't take any of it personally, because I understand where you are, and I understand that growth sometimes isn't a pretty process.
Right.
In order to make the vase, your hands got to get dirty with the clay, And so just understanding that, it's like, it's all good. I know that at the end of the day, everything you do, I believe your heart is pure in it. And the book is a reflection of that. So I appreciate your time. More than ever.
Appreciate you in this opportunity.
Kind of kicking it off. And this is the first of many. Like I told you, get used to it. Because your story is powerful, and this is really just the tip of the iceberg. I know that's cliche to say. We only talking about the last 6 years of a life of tremendous purpose and ups and downs and all of that. So I know you'll find out new and different and creative ways to incorporate all of your story as you go through your walk. So touch on a little bit. I just want, you an author, life coach, spiritual healer, teacher, mom, grandmom, great grandmom, all of that. Just tell the people all of the titles, all of the things that you do, and that's going to be centralized on your website that we'll post.
Well, the things that you just described.
Yeah.
But what is going to be highlighted the most will be life coaching, and that's for all ages.
Yeah.
So I welcome young people, because I certainly have developed in the area, especially spiritually, to be able to see things about your life and to be able to help you see what you didn't see within yourself,
right?
So that you can maneuver around some of the things that you're confronted with. So that's going to be highlighted
Yeah.
big. And women in particular, because Women of Destiny Unveiling Purpose
Yeah.
is the program that the Lord gave me. And that's what's centered around the caterpillar,
Yeah.
the chrysalis,
Yeah.
and becoming that butterfly.
Yeah.
So you're going to see a lot of that.
True indeed. True indeed. Everybody stay tuned. Again, this is Nellz. I present to you icons and ideas. I have my wonderful mother, Joyce Rogers. Hold your book up one more time for the people. Won't he do it? Yes, he will. It's going to be available on Amazon or anywhere you can purchase books. You can search it by title. Won't he do it? Yes, he will. Joyce R Rogers is the author. We'll have all the links posted as necessary. You'll be able to have access to it. And I encourage everybody to definitely support the book, support the movement, and more importantly, look for future endeavors. I know one thing that I'll be instrumental in is I want to make sure I'll be able to bridge that intersection. My mom, she talked a lot about the importance of being able to appeal to the youth and grow and learn as well as teach. So I'll definitely want to be instrumental in that intersection and making sure you're able to touch those demographics, because like I say, your story is powerful. And that don't even get into the millions of young women that's hurting that need to hear that part of your story.
Right. Oh, yeah.
So that's why when I say this is just the beginning, I mean it seriously. I know this is literally just the tip of the iceberg. It's the very beginning, but it's so many great things to come.
Yes.
And again, I love you. I appreciate you.
I
Thank you.
too.
If there's any message that you want to leave, I mean, you pretty much said everything, but if it's just one final note that you want to make before we wrap up, the floor is yours.
Yes. Forgiveness is very important. Young people, if you don't forgive, that will always be a hindrance to where you desire to go. So I would just reiterate, please forgive us, every adult, every person that has ever hurt you. Forgive us and come into your great destiny.
True indeed. And on that note, we appreciate you. Stay tuned. Everybody, again, this is Nellz. I present to you icons and ideas. We're going to keep it going. Like I said, I got dozens, when I say dozens of more guests that's going to be able to just shed light and promote themselves and who they are and their walk. And I appreciate everybody. I truly do. This is the beginning of something that's definitely near and dear to me and special for me. So shout out for everybody that support me. Shout out to everybody that's listening, and stay tuned. I appreciate you.